congratulations to your new job. The Nordic unions were quite quick to support your candidature. How important was that for your candidature, for your nomination?
Well, I think it was very important indeed. In fact, I think that my candidacy could only have been viable with the full support of the trade unions in the ILO, and I think we were very fortunate to have a united worker group position in favour of me. I got all the worker votes, then we had to work and to get a majority of the governments, and I think the support of the Nordic trade unions was not just that they voted for me, but also they worked with governments also, so that we were finally able to get support from enough governments to get the majority. So the Nordics played a really great role, and I'm extremely grateful for it.
It was actually quite controversial, at least in Sweden, because the government in Sweden had their own candidate, Mona Sahlin, who is also a very popular woman indeed in the union in Sweden, of course. I don't know if you were aware of that, but how did her candidacy go in your eyes? Of course, she was not elected, but was she a strong candidate or?
Well, absolutely, she was a strong candidate, and this is one of the strange things, or the unusual things about this election. There were a lot more candidates. I think there were 9 candidates. This is not usual for the ILO, and there were people like Mona Sahlin. There was also Ad Melkert from the Netherlands, who also had been a leader of his country's Social Democratic Party. There were 3 candidates from Africa, so this was a tough field, and I hope it's a sign of growing interest in the ILO, an understanding of the importance of the organisation, that there were so many candidates. If so, I think it will be a good sign for the future.
The ILO is maybe not a common organisation for the common trade union member or for the common citizen, but you are a very strong organisation indeed, and you are the only organisation where you have the workers, the employers, and the governments in the same organisation. This is a very powerful organisation indeed. So, with all this power in your hand, what are your visions and what is your big task in the ILO?
I think the ILO has an enormous potential. As you've pointed out, it's the only global organisation. It has 185 member states around the world in membership, and it has what you've just mentioned, this tripartite membership, not only governments but trade unions and employers as well. Now, and it's also part of the United Nations family, which is an important point to make. Now, I think we have to really work hard. You're right when you say that the ILO can seem rather distant from ordinary trade unionists, ordinary working people. I'm very, very anxious that the ILO should come nearer to ordinary people, that the work of the ILO be better known to ordinary working people, and its work must be absolutely relevant to what they want. And I would say the same about employers as well, because I have to look after their interests and views as well. And I think in these times of crisis, because even if the Nordic countries in general are coming through this crisis better than many others in the world and in Europe, let's not forget that the world of work is in a situation of real crisis at the moment. And I think more and more people see that to get out of this crisis, which is global, we need a global organisation for the world of work, to get people back to work and to get them into decent work. And that's sort of the project I'm setting myself for the next 5 years at the ILO.
And you're actually the first trade unionists to be elected to this post. How will you balance that, being a trade unionist coming from the trade unionist organization, but now you also have to represent governments, you have to represent the employers, and you have to make all 3 of them agree on very, very important, I would say, critical issues for this planet, for our future. How will you balance that?
You're absolutely right, and this was one of the arguments used against my candidacy by some people, that it wasn't really appropriate for someone from the trade unions to become the Director General, because he or she couldn't really represent everybody in a balanced way. But I actually don't see that contradiction. I don't see any contradiction by coming from a trade union background and being the Director General. It is true that I have to make that transition. I have to understand and act on the reality that my responsibilities now are not just to working people. But the fact is that the values of the ILO, the social justice, the creation of decent work, these are entirely the same values as for the trade union movement. So I actually don't see any problem in my own mind in making this transition. What I think I have to work at politically is to convince governments and employers as well that I'm there for them as much as I am for the trade unions. I'm working on that. They know me. I think they've worked with me quite enough to think that probably this can work okay.
Here in Ålesund at the Nordic Trade Union Congress, and we are discussing sustainability, sustainable society in terms of ecological sustainability, economical sustainability, and social sustainability. And today, in the beginning of the day, we talked a lot about how to make the right choices between jobs and between the environment. And this is, of course, an issue that cannot be resolved by one trade union in one country or even for a region, so to speak, but it is a global issue. The climate changes, or the climate chaos, as one lecturer said, is a global issue. Is there a place for the ILO to take a leading role in these issues?
There very much is. The first thing to say is, when I worked in the international trade union movement at the ITUC, we really succeeded, and the Nordic trade unions were in the lead on this, in making climate change and environmental questions a real priority. If you think back, and it's only 15 years, originally the international trade union movement could not endorse, could not support the Kyoto Protocol way back in the 1990s. We couldn't do it because many trade unionists felt that to support action against climate change and carbon emissions would be to sacrifice their members' jobs. And what we've had to work hard at doing is to remove this notion that it's one thing or the other thing. Either it's jobs or it's climate change. We have to find ways to move towards a sustainable future environmentally, a low-carbon future, whilst maintaining and, of course, improving people's jobs. And I think the evidence shows, and the practical examples which at this conference are being talked about, show this isn't a dream, it's something which is entirely practical. But nor is it automatic. I think we should beware of making this sound too easy. There will be difficult choices to make. There will have to be real decision-making and planning done to make sure that the move towards this low-carbon future is done in a way which is compatible with the interests of trade unions and their members. That said, I am very clear that no one country can do this on their own. The Nordic countries are leaders in this matter, but this is a global issue. The ILO, precisely because it sees a role for itself in this area, will be having a major discussion at its next conference on sustainable development and green jobs. And I hope that from that discussion next summer, it will be next June, we will be able to plan out a very, very clear pathway forward for the ILO's own work. And of course, we were already active in the Rio Plus 20 conference that took place a few months ago, and we have to move forward from that as well.
And from the larger issues to the smaller issues, are you moving now for your new job?
Well, actually, I already work in the ILO. I'm already established in Geneva, so I haven't got to move. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be a change of life. There'll be a change of style of life. I'm very pleased that my last excursion, if I can call it that, before taking up my responsibilities as Director General on the 1st of October, are here with my friends in Norway and the Nordic countries. It feels very nice. It feels like being with friends. And it's my last chance to relax before all the pressures set in.